So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're going to take a look at a Chaos Sphere build for Nyx Prime. Now this is a very simple and cheap one Forma build, and what we're going to do with that Forma is just add 1D. So as with all the caster frames that have a dash polarity in the aura slot, you can run either Energy Siphon or Corrosive Projection. It doesn't matter, they give you the same amount of mod capacity, and it mostly depends on which focus school you're using. If you're a part of the master race like I am and you're using Zanuric, you have more than enough energy regen, so you don't need Energy Siphon. But maybe if you're running any of the other focus schools, so you don't have the ridiculous energy regen that comes with Zanuric, you might want to run Energy Siphon so you get some energy regen and you can cast Chaos more often. For power duration, I'm using Prime Continuity and Constitution because with Chaos Sphere you need to balance duration and range. Because Chaos Sphere only inherits 50% of the duration you have on Chaos. So if you have a lot of range and no duration, the Chaos Sphere will shrink faster than enemies can run towards you, so they won't get crowd controlled. And if you have it the other way around, if you have very little range and a lot of duration, you will have the sphere up for a very long time, but it will be very tiny and once again pretty much useless, so there will be pretty much no point to having a Chaos Sphere on the build. And by the way, duration is no longer a bad thing on Nyx. It used to be a very bad thing, but then we got a quality of life update that made it so you can recast Chaos even if there are enemies still affected by it, okay? Another mod that may come as a little bit of a surprise if you watch any of my other Warframe builds is Flow. I don't use Flow very often because I use the Zanuric Focus School, which gives me a lot of energy generation through its passives. But Nyx is one of those frames where I really like having Flow because, well, Chaos isn't very reliable as far as crowd control goes. Yes, the enemies will be confused and they will shoot other enemies, but every now and then you may find yourself in a situation where the enemies just go, you know what, I'm not gonna shoot my friend in the face, I'm gonna shoot Nyx in the face. And suddenly you have a horde of enemies that decided they're not gonna shoot their friends and they're gonna shoot you, and at that point you can do two things. You can run away from there and get shot in the back or pop Absorb. And if you maybe just mind controlled someone and you popped Chaos, without Flow, you may not have enough energy to absorb enough damage to kill these enemies, especially since this build doesn't have a lot of power strength. Then we have a pretty straightforward mod, which is streamlined. It just makes abilities cheaper, which is excellent, allows us to cast them more often, and we don't really want to use fleeting expertise because even though it would make abilities cheaper, it would cripple Chaos a lot by removing a lot of duration. Another mod I'm using is Redirection because the Nyx by default is pretty squishy, and once again you never know when the enemies decide to shoot at you instead of shooting at their friends. And I know there's gonna be that one person like on the previous video that's always like, your reliance on defensive mods infuriates me. And you know what, so be it. I don't want to be that guy. You know which guy I'm talking about. You've met that guy. You know that guy that's running around on Draco with 50 shields and health because he's too good for a defensive mod? You know, the guy that gets down 20 times during round 1? I don't want to be that guy. Now, since we have Flow, you can also swap Redirection for Quick Thinking if you're going into a mission where you're expecting to take a truck ton of damage. Then of course we have to add Chaos Sphere because without it this wouldn't really be much of a Chaos Sphere build, and this is just an excellent mod that creates a sphere that will slowly shrink, and enemies that enter the sphere or this wall that it creates will be mind controlled, so you don't have to cast Chaos over and over and over again on maps where enemies spawn all the time. And finally we're going big dig with power range with overextended, stretch and cunning drift, and this puts your power range up to 250%. This is the maximum amount of power range that you can have. This is the power range cap, and the Chaos Sphere you create with this much power range is absolutely huge. It covers pretty much the entire Draco tile set, and it also covers the entire room in Void Defense where the cryopod is. So basically with this much power range, you're gonna mind control the entire world. Now, the mission I thought would be the most appropriate for showcasing this build is Solo Interception. So I went on Draco and I did a couple of rounds on my own just to show you how much control this frame has with this build over the battlefield. You can keep all 4 points for yourself without the enemies ever hacking a single one of them because, well, they're too busy killing each other. Now, I'm gonna throw here a little tip. If you want to mind control someone with mind control, your first ability, try to get a Haika Master, because if you get a Haika Master with mind control, they will still spawn cat bros and they will be friendly to you. So you can have an army of cat bros running around with you. However, once the mind control runs out on the Haika Master, all the Haikas that he spawned will once again turn hostile towards you because, well, they're cats. And cats are assholes. But anyway, this is just a very powerful, fun, and cheap build. I mean, if you don't hear about the Exodus slot, which adds only 15% power range, I don't think you have to put in a single Forma, so it's awesome. You can just try it out and see whether or not you like it. Now, every time I mention Nyx, people ask about the Mind Freak augment. Is it worth it or not? And while it may sound really cool, you know, the mind control target doing 500% extra damage, I don't think it's worth it just yet, because the AI for the mind control targets is not the best. Alright, because, well, most of the time when you mind control a target, they will just stand around and do nothing, or they will take cover and do nothing, or they'll run to an abandoned section of the map and do nothing. So in a perfect world where the AI works and they're actually shooting dudes all the time, yes, that augment would be definitely worth it, but right now with the AI we have for the mind control targets, not really. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.